So, you want to be a contractor. Ever wonder what it takes to become a contractor? The journey they go on to get where they are now, or the crazy things they see and hear on the job site? Well, you're in the right spot. Welcome to So You Want to Be a Contractor, the podcast. Join your host, Mike Fisher, as he talks to owners of construction companies from all over about how they got started, how they run their business, and some of the craziest stories they've experienced on their job sites. And now, your host, Mike Fisher.
Welcome to So You Want to Be a Contractor. This is episode number 12. My name is Mike Fisher. Guest today is Sondra Friestad. She's a project manager at CSI Construction. Pretty awesome that we're doing this on March 1st, which it's not going to air on March 1st, obviously, but probably next week. But today starts Women in History Month, and I know that was kind of our the impetus to this conversation was the women in construction, and always love hearing from that aspect and where that's going. So let's get started with your story. How did you get into this? Where did you start? And what was that journey like to where you are now?
All right. Good morning, Mike. So I got into real estate development in the early 1990s in Beverly Hills, California. So I kind of started in high-end custom homes. We sold to, Magic Johnson, Pia Sedora. So I kind of developed an eye for it. I've been in the industry about 30 years now, and all facets of the industry, insurance, all the way up to finance to now I really enjoy being in the field. So, yeah. So just to expand, March 1st, we're going into women in construction, and it's kind of amazing. So the Sacramento NAWIC National Association for Women in Construction, believe it or not, we're celebrating 60 years. And
Wow.
me in the industry, being almost 30, I can't imagine the leaps and bounds we've made. So it's pretty exciting, and I just appreciate getting to share with you a little bit about all of it.
Yeah. So let's hear just kind of maybe the good, the bad, the ugly, kind of how it was going from maybe where you were in the back office side to in the field, especially from the perspective of a woman.
So I think for me, when I look back, I've led some panels as well, but I think mentorship is important. So that first developer, Alan Kaderi, it was CSL development actually. And I think just the mentorship, encouraging, seeing potential in someone and then building from that. So I've always been really fortunate that I've had a mentor. I actually just called him last week, believe it or not. Um, so just starting out ground up. And I think that's what's so cool and also different in the industry. I come from a generation that was more hands-on, learn, build, grow, self-educate, and also observe. And that's how I try to lead my teams. A lot of it, I have a hard time getting out of the weeds. I like to lead by example. Now I think, we all are talking about diversity, equality, and integration and what that means in our industries. And I think for leaders, it's important to figure out what our teams are. And we get to kind of blend all of those styles together in order to have a strong, well-working team. And honestly, it's the last 10 to 15 years in the industry has changed. I've never had a problem being a female out working in the fields. And I owe a lot of that to the male superintendents that I were working with. So I think a lot of the project engineers coming out of school, I just think it's important. I try to reiterate that to my teams is to be mindful and helpful.
Yeah, and I think to your point, things are definitely changing for the better from that aspect, right? Like as you said, it's over the past 10, 15 years, it's definitely become uh maybe easier or not as stigmatized, if you will, with the women in the field. But um there's still I think the intimidation factor of that, right? As a female. So how just maybe speak to how you overcame that and what led you to making that change and getting out there.
Great question, Mike. That is for real. That's still for real in this day. Sometimes on my job sites yesterday, the intimidation factor. So this program that I was able to share out for Sacramento Business Exchange in November, we had a panel of 6 people, and we all have different facets of the industry. And mine is, I'm also a field superintendent. I'm a site project manager, so I'm on site a lot. I run into a lot of different personalities and men. And, after the conference, I had 6 to 8 women lined up to talk exactly about this. How do we handle the heat when we're in the heat? How do we ask a question and not feel stupid? How do we so sharing different experiences of me in the field, there's been many times when I would have to walk out, stand in a porta potty and breathe, you know, to say, okay, how can I roll through this? And I think again, that's where the mentorship is. I have other women that I called from Clark Construction, that have been in the industry longer than I have, because I hate to say it, there are some differences. I'm very masculine energy type person, but there are times when it's like, it's hard not to react in the emotion, and I work super fast. So yeah, just sifting through all of that. And my biggest recommendation, and what I share with other gals coming up in this industry, is just find someone on that job site that you feel comfortable asking questions, and, put on some thick skin and just go for it. What else are you going to do? They don't teach us that in college, they don't. And
Yeah.
I think that's why other organizations like Women in Construction, finding a peer group is crucial, I think, in any industry, but especially this one. Like
Yeah.
last year, celebrating WIC Week, that was a large job, the Folsom Senior Living project in Folsom. And kind of coming into WIC Week, it makes me more aware to stop and pay attention. There were 3 female electricians on that job site. And I think it's just really cool that this is what we're seeing more so, you know, and having an outlet for that on our job sites to be supportive.
Yeah, and I think to your point, like that, the peer group and and finding somebody that you're comfortable with, like you said, it's especially important as a woman in construction, which has typically been a male dominated, especially from in the fields aspect. But I mean, with anything though, right? I mean, that's the same concept. If I'm brand new, like you said, electrician on a job, it can be intimidating working side by side with somebody who's been in the industry for 45 years, right? Same kind of
Right.
concept, but like you said, building that network of people that you're comfortable with, and not being afraid to ask the questions. I think that's the biggest thing also, right? Because as a woman, you might feel like, hey, I'm asking this question and I might look stupid because I'm a woman, but in all reality, like I said, the brand new electrician who's asking the same question is probably thinking the same thing, even as a male. Hey, I'm asking this question, but I might sound stupid because I've never done this before. So, um, just yeah, like you said, not being afraid to be out there, I think is one of the biggest first steps for sure.
Yeah. One of the other things that I try to pay attention to, and again, this comes back from one of my original mentors training me in the industry, is know your facts. I think that facts is empowering. So I did a lot of things on my own to learn my job. My job was never an 8 to 5. So I continued my education and everything that I was involved in, like we talked about, whether it was insurance, liability, finance, job costing. And I think all of that just empowers me as an individual. Let's take the diversity out of it. As an individual, to try to be the best that I can be, at my job. So, I don't see a lot of females with my experience so far over the years, but I get to train a lot of the younger project engineers just coming out of college or in intern programs. And I teach everybody the same, or I share my experience, you know. like they say, knowledge is power. I really do believe that, but we still have to feel comfortable asking questions.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Know your facts. I mean, that's what kind of sets you apart, right? And makes and again taking the diversity out of it. That's what kind of shows your dedication and your willingness to learn and want to grow in that field and not just be comfortable where you're at. For sure,
Yeah.
I love that. Love that aspect for sure. So, what is your day to day role now? Not only in what you do, but I have to imagine there are some extracurriculars outside of your daily role that pertain to that women in construction aspect.
So we're rolling into we celebrate for about 7 days. So right now we're collecting, which is one of my personal favorites. We're collecting from our communities, clothing, products, things like that to donate to Weave, a local supportive, women in the community program. We get to do some fun stuff. We're doing Top Golf, which is great. We have a paint night, and then we have a job walk from I think Bolt Construction is leading the way on that. I think it's just a fun recognition, not only of women, professional women. And I have to tell you, so CJ Walker is on my mind. I just watched a recent biography on her, and it's hard to imagine that in the early 1900s, if you can imagine, this was, a Black woman, and she was a leader in manufacturing, manufactured some of the first hair products, and that was the 1900s. Here we are, 2022. So I get kind of ramped up through March just because I think it's amazing with some of the things that we're doing. Pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's fun stuff. What is your day to day role with CSI? Where are you responsible for and doing on a daily basis in the field?
So currently I'm kicking off an Amazon renovation. I That's kind of been my forte the last 4 years. I've been with CSI about 5 years, started with the theater, and I kind of like the special projects renovation programs because they're fast paced and they have a lot going on. So a lot of times I'm in the field as a superintendent, coordinating and also writing the scopes, managing my budgets, managing my invoicing, all of those kinds of things. So right now, day to day, I'm writing scopes, kind of laying out my schedule to kick off in the next couple weeks.
That's awesome. And how long have you been in the position that you're in now?
I've been in this position about going on about 10 years. And I flip flop, I think, because of some of the diversity of my background. So we kind of created this site project manager, and some of the other managers are following that lead. For me, like I said, I have a hard time getting out of the weeds. I like to be where the action is. For
Yeah.
me, I'm visual, so being on site is helpful in a lot of ways. So I enjoy being in the field, and yeah.
So are you? I have to imagine part of what you do is managing trade partners or subcontractors on a daily basis in the field and making sure from a quality standpoint that they're doing everything that needs to be done.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So we actively just started an affordable housing program, which I helped them kick off one of the three. And that's another passion that I have. I love the liaison between the developer, community, city planning, municipalities, building communities, right? So that was an exciting project. I'll probably roll back over there at some point. Um, but yeah, that's what it is. We have so much safety requirements now. We know we can't, safety first always. So we always
Right.
have we just have fast schedules.
And I have to imagine that having that developer or that background of being with a developer, maybe kind of speak to how that helps you out in your day to or in what you're doing now, kind of knowing both sides of the project.
Yeah, I think it brings a lot of value there in the sense that we understand developers' end goal. And and also being the GC, I mean, we're working with design teams. There's a lot of changes, I think, within that industry as well. So being able to decipher between all the players and all the roles that we have to focus on that end game, and it takes a lot of critical thinking and being able to wear different hats to not take things personal. And I think also to be able to make those decisions of when we have to really be real with the current circumstances. So, like I said, the developer, we always know it's municipalities. It's a lot of times there's code
Yeah, a lot of
issues.
red
We
tape
just want to
and
get the
yeah,
thing recorded. Yeah. And then we have a lot of RFIs, a lot of design changes. It turns into what feels like a design build, and how that all cycles down. But I think just the communication overall and really making sure that we're all on the same page as we have the end goal, and for us as a GC, we want to save as much money, time. I think when you factor in this current day with the pandemic and material delays, it's fun. Let me just say it's fun. It's a fun ride, right? They
it's
don't
a
train us for
different,
this
yeah,
stuff. It's like,
different kind of
what do
fun
you
for
mean my
sure.
roofing's gonna take 12 months, I mean, how
Right.
do we work around that? And so I think that too is if we all encourage being on the same page, we can troubleshoot a lot of things together. And sometimes there is a schedule delay and it's real. We have to make certain decisions based on, we're not going to install insulation and drywall without windows. Our windows are delayed 6 months. So how do you navigate through that? I think there's a lot of added challenges right now. I'm sure you hear it
Yeah.
from all
No,
these
and
other
I'm glad you,
contractors.
yeah, I'm glad you brought up the communication factor because that's a big piece of it, right? And the background that you have, you're able to understand how to communicate, right? And excuse me, what the developer wants to hear or what they need to hear at a certain point because you've been on that side of it. But so much of a project, especially those bigger ones that you guys are doing, and how it runs and whether or not it's going to run smoothly is communication, right?
Right.
Good, bad, or ugly, and different. Like you want to know what's coming up, what's going to happen, what has happened, how we address things. Um, and being able to do that efficiently, I think obviously comes with a lot of that background that you have being, having been on both sides of that project.
Risk and liability, right, Mike? Risk and
Yeah.
liability.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So maybe I saw something else on your LinkedIn profile. That's how we kind of communicated and how we got started. Is there's another project that you're involved in or another um company that you have some interest in? Is that how I saw it? Was it Eclectic?
Eclectic Muse. Funny that
Yeah.
you found that. So I have a consulting company and I used to have a store. So I did design, I did construction management at the time. I did the Marina Del Rey Hotel. I did quite a bit of things. So Eclectic Muse is still alive. And I did a job cost accounting, bookkeeping, things like that. So I just kept it alive, here in California, you never know.
Never
I
know.
love the name.
Awesome.
So Eclectic Muse came to me. I just kind of had woken up one day and I kind of saw this whole vision in my head, which was kind of cool. Coming out of the recession and all of that. Um, so eclectic is just it's diversity, right? It's eclectic to me. I have a diverse taste in all things, professionally, personally, and the muse is what inspires me today. So I love working with my hands. I love how I can look at a color and receive inspiration there. So it was just kind of a fun business that I've had.
Yeah. I feel like being on a job site with you would be pretty exciting because you've got so much experience and you see things so differently. I feel like it's like you said. I feel like that's probably why it's hard for you to like you said, get out of the weeds and get out of them just because it's what fuels you. It sounds like for sure.
It is. And, I think with that background, so like I said, details are important. right? So a lot of times, some of my coworkers appreciate me even stopping by their job, helping with some QA/QC because it's kind of investigative, right? I love to go to the submittal. We have a great QA/QC program, making sure that we're installing what's correct. I love all of that. So yeah, sometimes if I'm in the lead project management role, it's challenging for me not to get stuck in the details. So what's the balance of that? And being
Right.
able to continually try to cross train and teach our project engineers these are the things to look for. I was just talking to a coworker yesterday about that and this is crazy to say, but I'm just going to say it because I'm blunt. But, as a female, I think that we can multitask a little bit better. So when I walk out to look at one thing, maybe I'm checking on, the electrical room, the point of service, making sure all of that connection is installed correctly. On my way out from the trailer to the job site, I'm looking at 5 or 6 different things. So I can snap a few photos, I can take a look over at the aluminum windows being installed, whatever. When I get back to the trailer, I've done a weekly safety report. I've done a couple field QA/QCs. It's that multitasking. It's not the tunnel vision, and I think that's where it becomes long hours, but that's where the efficiency can come as well.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
know you're laughing.
No, not at all. I think too often we get caught up in the sense that like, hey, everyone's equal and we need to treat everyone equally. And this might come off as, again, this might be a little blunt and might be a little controversial to some people, but I think there are differences, right? And I think there are strengths and weaknesses in everything, whether that's, gender or age or whatever it is. But I think that being able to recognize those and use those, like you said, to your ability and kind of tailor your job and how you're doing it around those is only going to be beneficial to you. But step one is kind of recognizing them. So more power to you for being able to recognize that and use that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you brought up strength and weaknesses, right? Because I really do believe that, and as we're evolving into larger projects, eh, teamwork is critical to the success of the job. And if you fail, I fail. You know, if you succeed, I succeed. So I think that mentality, that overall mentality, is really important. And I like in the last sentence that you just brought up the diversity and how we blend. That's what we're doing. We're blending age groups. So many different things to create a strong team. And I think for me, it clicked about, gosh, believe it or not, it's been at least 12 or so years because I have always been so independent. And I think rolling into the validity of a team for me was based on becoming a national champion pool player, right? There were 5 of us, and we all have good days and bad days. We all have strengths and weaknesses on this team environment. So that first national championship, knowing that we all contributed in a way, it wasn't just one person being the rock star. We all had a part in that. That's what professionally clicked for me with the team, with the team mentality. So rolling into this generation, like I said, where CSI Construction's going, across the nation, all these larger projects that we get to be involved with, we may not all agree, but we all serve a purpose, and we have to make sure that we all feel valued in what our role is, and being able to expand and, like I said, blend.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the where society is going, right? And I mean, that's definitely the generation that's coming up right now in business. That's kind of what they need and what they thrive on, right? And how they feel valued at their job. So for so long, construction was, hey, this is how we're going to do it. You're going to do it this way, and if you can't do it this way, we don't need you, right? But generationally, some of that stuff has changed, and I think obviously bringing women into construction and more women coming into the construction helps that aspect evolve for sure. But like you said, now it's, hey, what can you do to help our team? How can you fit in? And whatever that is, if it works for our team, we'll find a rule for you and we'll make it work, and more collaborative, I guess, if you will, rather than just hey, this is this is how I want it done, and I'm the boss, so this is how everybody that comes onto this job site has to do it. And it's
Right. That's
I love that
I
that's
think that's
changing.
yeah, we kind of I know I certainly grew up that way. And so I was humbled a few years ago as well. There's no I have removed common sense out of my language, right?
Uh,
Because it's just not common sense. So how can I lead by example? Why am I so presumptuous that maybe one of my coworkers in the younger generations have ever been shown how to use a broom, you know? So these are all
yeah,
things, and
yeah,
this isn't a very for real on the job experience, that I can't be so presumptuous anymore. We have to lead by example. We have to give clear, concise direction. And I went back to a seminar I was involved in years ago with how do we decode the generations? You've got traditionals on a job site. You have millennials. You have whatever the new one is, the Generation X. You have,
all of them,
you
right?
know.
Yeah,
So all of a sudden, I'm looking at this job site and I have 6 different varieties of generations here. The way I communicate, which is common sense, is not breaking through to another one of our team players. So how do we and I think that's what's so neat as I discover more about diversity, um, integration, equality. What does that mean? It's not, it's so much more. It's like you said, it's blending these personalities on a job site to be effective as we can in a minimal amount of time.
yeah. I
It's
love that
not
you say
common
you're
sense.
taking. Yeah, I love that you're taking common sense out of your vocabulary, because that's
Yeah.
so true, right? I mean, like, what you and I know is not the same that everybody else knows. And as frustrating as that can be sometimes, especially when it comes to things like you said, using a broom, right? You've probably known how to use a broom since you were very, very young age, but maybe this person doesn't. And as frustrating as that can be, the only way we're all going to get better and the team is going to get better is if somebody steps up and says, hey, this is not only how you use a broom, but how we want you to use a broom, and how the most effective way or the most efficient way, because a lot of construction is about being lean in the efficiency, right? So I know that a broom is probably a terrible example at lean construction, but one of those things, right? I mean, just this is what we've decided is, or we feel is the most efficient way to use this broom, and this is how you're going to do it, and this is and then now that person can go teach somebody else, right? So again,
Right.
as frustrating as some of those things can be, and as like you said, in the weeds as you can get, having the mentality of leading by example and removing common sense, I think is a great mindset, because then you just become more willing and more open and to help everybody. And
And
I'm
I
sure
think
that
when
that's,
you
yeah,
to a
helps
point.
help people see you in a better light, I guess, if you will.
Right. And I think you brought it up, just the strengths and weaknesses. I don't feel a weak person or a weak leader if I say, "Hey, I have strength and weaknesses." I think that's a very for real approach to life, because there's a certain amount of humility that I believe as a person I want to bring to every situation that I'm at. I don't know everything. That's what makes the journey fun. And blending those. So being able to really have a platform on a job site where we're all figuring out the end game there, I think that empowers people. If I'm a new project engineer on a job site and I hear that coming from leadership, I thrive in that, because that takes the
Right.
pressure off of maybe making a mistake, not feeling comfortable to ask a question. Hey, I'm not quite sure what this drawing means. Is it incomplete? Or, I think that so yeah, I'm all for that. And I think industry wide we're kind of rolling that way. Um, but it's all up to us as leaders, right? In order to encourage that.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of going back to the women in construction, where do you see your future in that aspect, and what do you see for the next few years, in how you're kind of helping develop that?
You know, I think overall, so, I'm a little bit older now and a little bit through my in my career. So I'm kind of, where I am today is what do I want to do when I grow up? And I'm still kind of figuring that out. I think that's why I appreciate being involved with a company like CSI Construction. There's no limits. I could really go for anything that I wanted. The support from our management and ownership, one of the best companies I've had a privilege to work with. They're my first commercial. My background has been mainly residential. But if I were to say what is my true passion, it's coaching. I love coaching. I love development. I love developing these men and women coming into our industry. That's what I love. So next couple of years, I don't know. I'm gonna do a little bit more leadership development with NAWIC. I think it's a great platform. I might branch out, spend a little bit more time with some of the other organizations, and we'll just kind of see where it rolls. I enjoy the special project team that I get to work with for CSI, and I love working with my hands. So I have personally some projects I'd like to do around my home, but we'll kind of see how that all plays out.
Yeah, no, excited to see, especially with NAWIC, where your experience is able to take you there, and how you're able to help there. I think that's there are a lot of people that have the ability and the knowledge and the experiences to be able to contribute to organizations like that, but not many of them that not many people that actually take the time to um, you know volunteer that information and that coaching aspect. So definitely appreciate anyone who's because a lot of that's volunteer work, right? I mean, that's after hours.
Right.
That's just me wanting to, or you wanting to better that class of people and that next generation coming in, and so
Yeah.
that's always fun to see, and we appreciate that for
Yeah.
sure. Kind of what I'm hoping to do here, right? I mean, we're creating a little bit different way to talk about construction that's been pretty archaic in the past, and hoping that bringing a little bit more digital and making it a little bit easily access to some of that younger generation hopefully helps out quite a bit as well.
Right.
Well,
Cool.
Sandra, this has been awesome. I want to be able to let people know how to find you or how to get a hold of you, especially if they have questions from the mentorship side, or just kind of being who you are and some of your experiences. Is there a way people can get a hold of you or get in touch with you if they need to?
Sure. I think the best way, Mike, is LinkedIn. And if I can carry any message today, it's yes, please feel free to reach out to me via email. I'd be more than happy to share my phone number through that platform. But sincerely, I know what it's like out there. Anything that I can contribute to the cause, I'm more than willing to do that. And you pointed it out. This is all volunteer. I just like to share my experience, and support men and women that are out there kind of not quite sure how they're navigating this. They don't teach us this in school. And
No, not at all.
yeah, LinkedIn.
Very cool. Well, we'll definitely post that link when we post all this, and connect you to everybody out there. But again, appreciate the time. It's been awesome. Hope to, again, like I said, follow you throughout this, and excited to see where things go in the future for sure.
All right. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the time
Thanks,
and
Sandra.
thanks
I
for,
appreciate it.
spending time on this. Take care.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you had a good time, be sure to hit that subscribe button to get all the latest episodes. And if you had a really good time, leave a review to let us know what you thought. Until then, go gather some crazy stories on your job sites, and we'll see you next time on So, You Want to Be a Contractor.